Hello and welcome back to Motorland Aragón. It's been a fascinating day of racing so far. We've had one title winner crowned in the Moto2 European Championship in the form of Lucas Tulovic. Will we get another one crowned this afternoon? There's only 1 point in it after race one, with Guido Pini going on to win the first race of his season. But the title remains up for grabs here in Aragon. A 5.1 kilometre layout, of course, a region steeped in motorsport history. First hosted a Grand Prix back in 2010 when Casey Stoner, aboard his Ducati, won the MotoGP race, and it's been on the Grand Prix calendar ever since. Unfortunately, won't be here next year, of course. That famous wall won't be seen on the Grand Prix calendar, but I'm sure we'll be back here next year in the Junior GP class. And the circuit plays host to one more race today, and it is a very, very important race too, Hawker's European Talent Cup. The title race really has entered the business end of the season, and it took another twist earlier on today. We're going to get highlights very shortly if you didn't manage to catch it. But yeah, Liam, it was a fascinating race, a red flagged race, of course. We send our best wishes to the riders involved in that crash, Belford and Kazma Daniel. Here is then highlights from what we saw earlier on. Max Martinez started from pole position on the number 28 machine and got a good launch, as did Dodo Boggio and Guido Pini from that front row. But Max Martinez swept across the front, took the whole shot, and went on to eke out a decent advantage as the riders behind battled it out. Casey O'Gorman getting a good start from the second row of the grid. That's Joel Esteban on the number 78 machine. He got a decent getaway from P4 as well. Dojo Boggio there leading the race for second, but this then happened on the exit of turn 3 in the early exchanges. Dodo Boggio losing the rear of his motorcycle, unfortunately crashing out of the race. But good to see he was all up okay. This is what happened then down at turn 12. Fortunately, Evan Belford just high-siding out there. And unfortunately for Kazma Daniel, he was left with nowhere to go. First and foremost, good to see the riders conscious. We haven't had an update on either of the riders' condition. Hopefully we see them back out in race 2. But yeah, first and foremost, let's hope that they are all okay. This was the restart after a short delay. Casey O'Gorman got the whole shot and led briefly before Max Martinez then made his way through up the inside down at turn 5. A classic overtaking manoeuvre here at Motorland Aragón, and made it stick in the 5-lap dash, of course, in the race for victory. Martinez got shuffled down the pack a little bit, but then made this move down at turn 12. 4 for the price of 1, really, that for Max Martinez. A sensational move, and he did look like he was going to go on and take the race victory. The group of 5 were in the battle, but this was the final corner. Guido Pini there fended off the challenge of Casey O'Gorman and then held a tight inside line to pick the pocket of Max Martinez to sensationally win his first race of the season. As you can tell, and understandably so, the team very, very pleased with Pini's performance in race 1, and it was such a huge win in terms of the title chase, Liam, because now only 1 point stands between Pini and title leader Joel Esteban, who finished down in 5th place earlier on today.
Yeah, you would have thought after 3 rounds of this season so far that Joel Esteban was off and running in this title chase, but as we've seen, there's been disqualifications, there's been some injuries along the way as well, and unfortunately for Joel Esteban today, a race that didn't quite go his way, which means that the gap has now come down to a solitary point between himself and Guido Pini, and Pini took his first ever win earlier on today. A very important win as well at that. We were talking about during the race that if he finally gets that first win, can it open the floodgates? And well, we'll see later on today. We'll see very soon actually today if that has actually been the case. And Max Martinez, he was second in race number 1, and he's now only 23 points off the championship lead, so it's all to play for here today. I think Joel Esteban's going to have a lot of things go his way if he wants to wrap up the title before Valencia.
Yeah, Max Martinez was understandably a bit annoyed at the end of race 1. He extended a 2-second lead before the red flag, and then was looking good for race victory and got pit-pocketed at the final corner. And yeah, he cut a frustrated figure on the podium at the end of the race, which you can understand, of course, after losing the race on the final corner. But yeah, he's closed down the overall standings to Joel Esteban to 23 points, 22 of course now off Guido Pina. So if he can be within 25 points, of course, at the end of this race, only one race remaining after this in Valencia. So the riders in the form of Martinez and Boggio, even Brian Uriarte, of course, he's 40 points down, so they need to be within 25 points or less of the title leader heading to Valencia. So a very intriguing race coming up, and a very important one, and a decisive one as well.
Yes, all to play for here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup Championship. And it's not just the championship protagonists we have to keep an eye out on. We also saw in race number 1 here today that Casey O'Gorman, he's going to be well within the mix as well, going from the second row of the grid in 6th spot. And also, he was finishing just off the podium earlier on today. He's still within a mathematical chance of the championship, 46 points off, but that's going to be a tall order for him to claw his way back up as well. But there's lots of riders to keep an eye out on, and of course Hakim Danish, he'll be in the fight as well. Brian Uriarte, you have mentioned, 40 points is a little bit difficult for the young Spaniard, but he's all out for just race wins and podiums, so the title protagonists won't have it all their own way with the last 2 races remaining of the championship.
Certainly. So Rico Salmela, he'll be hoping for a little bit of a better finish than he had earlier on today. Of course, a Red Bull Rookies Cup race winner here in Aragon not so long ago. But the riders then all primed and ready, the teams all primed and ready, and the fans, of course, friends and family, ready for 14 laps of action here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup. Everyone very focused on the job of hand, of course. Another twist in the tail earlier on today. Remind you, Esteban leading the way. He hasn't won now since race 1 in Valencia. As you're going to get a look at the starting grid, his gap has now been closed to just 1 point. So it's Martinez on pole once again from Boggio and Pini. Esteban from Salmela and Casey O'Gorman. Uriarte, after his grid penalty, is back up into 7th place with Alcina and Fuertes completing the 3rd row.
On row number 4, we have Hamid Al Sahuti, who started off well in the previous race, but dropped down outside the points as the race went on. Carter Thompson, Rishi Moodley round at the row number 4 ahead of Rioth, Luciano and Garcia Miguel on row number 5. Hakim Danish is on row number 6, and then we've got Emmanuel Brinton on row 7 ahead of Fernandez and Pereiro on row number 7. Biosa, who took 6th miraculously on race number 1, he'll be heading off row number 8 ahead of Jay Grenfell and Trias rounding out the row number 8. Then Donoso ahead of Luis Armadio, and then Ramenstoffer on row number 9, and then the back row of the grid will be the number 19 of Sola, and last but not least, row number 10, 29th spot is Serpa on bike 41.
Final race of the day then here at Motorland Aragón. It's been a fascinating weekend so far across all classes. We've already had a title winner confirmed. It's unlikely we're going to get a title winner confirmed here today. Looks like the Hawkers European Talent Cup title will be going down to the final race in Valencia. What a tantalising prospect that is for, well, for the neutrals it is anyway, not for the riders, of course. They'll be heading there with, well, the pressure won't be heaped on their young shoulders, but they'll be putting pressure on themselves, won't they? Conditions are a lot warmer than they were earlier on this morning. The sun has been shining all day. Air temperature up to 28 degrees, hottest we've seen so far this weekend. So how much of a difference will that make this time around? 14 laps coming up for these riders. Yeah, plenty of action coming up as well. It's going to be interesting to see if Martinez can hold the advantages he did in race 1, because he did stretch that 2-second lead, didn't he? He was looking really strong before the red flag.
Yeah, it was incredibly quick in the opening stages of both parts of the race, but down the long back straight and turn number 1 as well, the pursuing riders were able to claw him back in. So Max Martinez, he has the pace to escape if he really wants to, and he may be able to do it here again today. So we've got a lot to look out for to the riders just behind Max Martinez on the number 28 machine. We just hope that, unlike race number 1, we do have a nice, clean and safe race, and all riders manage to make it to the end without any incidents at the end of this 14 lap race number 2 here at the Hawkers European Talent Cup at Motorland Aragón.
Yeah, doesn't look like Belford or Kazma Daniel, unfortunately, are taking to the grids in race 2. So we extend again our best wishes to those guys. Hopefully they are all okay and will be back with us in Valencia. Around the final couple of corners on the warm-up lap, the riders come. I predict that it's all going to come down to turn 16 and 17 in, what, 25 minutes or so time.
So you're about to say, Elliot, I'm about to predict a riot here.
Well,
no,
it's certainly going to be a barnstormer, isn't it?
It's going to be one for the memory banks of one of these riders here today. Can Guido Pini pick up his second race win, do back-to-backs here in Aragon? Can Dodo Boggio take his third win of the season and try and get himself back into the championship hunt? Or will it be Joel Esteban who re-establishes himself as the title favourite going into the final race at Valencia?
Martinez from Boggio from Pini on the front row. Esteban lurking there in 4th place, finished 5th in race 1. He'll be hoping to do better than that in race 2. Here we go then, the final race of the day is underway. Hawkers European Talent Cup race 2, and it's another good start from pole position for the number 28, Max Martinez. Looks like he'll be going into turn 1 as the race leader. Yes, he just snatches the whole shot, just like he did earlier on today. Boggio getting a good start from 2nd, Pini getting a good start from 3rd. It's as you were from the front row in your top 3. Casey Gorman again barges his way through the inside of Brian Uriarte at turn 3, and he's going to go up the inside of Guido Pini at turn 4 as well. What a start from Casey O'Gorman from the outside of row 2.
He's not shy, is he, Casey O'Gorman, about making moves on the first lap. There was a lot of bumping and boring further back down the field from the likes of Hakim Danish and Luciano as well, so they've all managed to make it through safely, but they were off track and there was a few incidents further back, but thankfully everyone seems to be up and running for the time being. A great start from Hamid Al-Sahuti. I was watching him in the number 71, he got a great launch off the line from 10th on the grid. He has dropped back again into 9th spot, but a great start by the young rider on the Leopard Impala junior team as well. But the top 3, a bit of a moment there from Casey O'Gorman coming through turn number 10, but a moment on the rear end, but that really hasn't scuppered his momentum coming down towards turn number 12. Do we have a pass from Uriarte? Not quite at the moment. A bit of a bump on the inside there. They all managed to make it through nice and safely as they make their way towards the complex and past the big Aragon wall for lap number 1.
Joel Esteban there, not making the getaway he would have wanted. He's down in 6th place, but he's latched onto the back with the number 51 of Brian Uriarte. A little bit of a gap forming behind Joel Esteban on this opening lap, but for Joel Esteban, he needs to protect that lead. It's only 1 point, of course, to Guido Pini. Pini currently in 4th place, so as things stand, a long way to go, of course. Esteban will be relinquishing the title lead, but how long will we be saying that for? I assume not very long at all. So lap 1 nearly completed then. They'll round turn 17, the final corner, rise over the crest of the hill, and it is Max Martinez leading the way, but for how long? Because Casey O'Gorman got some nice slipstream there down into turn 1. He's made his move. Max Martinez cut into the inside, showing O'Gorman a wheel straight away, but it is Casey O'Gorman then on the 67 bike who leads the way. A fantastic start, a fantastic opening lap from the Irishman. Started P6, his second best qualifying of the year. He's only had one front row this year as the number 6-7 of Casey O'Gorman, and Max Martinez isn't getting away like he did in race 1. He's been beaten up a little bit there. Dodo Boggio just having a bite of the cherry as well. But yeah, fantastic stuff then from O'Gorman. Max Martinez, is he going to have a look straight away? Not quite this time around.
Esteban was looking up the inside of his chief championship rival, Guido Pini, for 4th spot in turn number 5. Had to sit back or slot back into 5th, but he's done it now. Oh, they're touching. A little bit of elbow-to-elbow action between Esteban and Pini. Pini still holds on to 4th spot, but we can see that starting to get a little bit ferocious, isn't it? So Joel Esteban in 5th, the number 78. He is your championship leader, 1 point ahead of the man just in front of him. Guido Pini on the number 93, a great looking machine in the black and yellow. Very contrasting styles there. But Guido Pini around the outside of Joel Esteban once again. So Esteban not as confident on the brakes as Guido Pini is in the early stages of this race. He can get a run on him, but can't quite get past him. As Guido Pini now looks up the inside of Esteban's teammate, Dodo Boggio. It's very close, a little bit bumping and boring. Who's going to lead us to come onto the back straight? It looks like it's going to be Casey O'Gorman, the number 67 from the Vision Track Racing team. He leads down the back straight for one more time, but the Slipstream City really does begin now as Max Martinez pulls out, and it's also Guido Pini in 4th spot. But here comes Dodo Boggio on the number 47 Aspar machine. Who's going to lead into the final car? Late on the brakes is Max Martinez as Casey O'Gorman sweeps around the outside, and Joel Esteban tries that long line around the outside again. Has he made a stick? Yes, he has. He's ahead of Guido Pini. That is very important for the championship.
Oh, very close there on the exit between Boggio and Guido Pini. Boggio trying to make amends for his race 1 error that saw him crash out of the race. Esteban showing a wheel at the inside of Casey O'Gorman. Not this time around. O'Gorman good on the brakes there, down into turn 1 as Al Sahuti sets the fastest lap of the race. There he is on the number 71 machine, has tagged himself onto the back of Brian Uriarte and the race leader. So what's the race lead group? It's a group of 7 we've got as Esteban dives at the inside at turn 4 into turn 5. I think Esteban is now leading the race. He is. So Joel Esteban has made good progress then in the last lap and a half or so. He has taken the lead for the first time in the race. Guido Pini there, second in the championship, of course. Well in the hunt in 4th place. This is going to go down right to the wire.
Well, Al Sahuti really showing his pace here. We're talking a little bit earlier on today about the form that he's now starting to show. He's competing well in the Asia Talent Cup, and that's Blad Trias in the pits. Disastrous day for the young Spanish rider, and that's just been compounded by retirement. I don't see any scuffs in the leathers, Elliot, so I guess it was just a mechanical issue for the young Spaniards.
Yeah, unfortunately for Blad Trias, his race looks like it is all but over. But back at the front then, Max Martinez dives up the inside of Casey O'Gorman down into turn 12. The tricky left-hander always looks like they're a little bit on edge down there, doesn't it? But I think it's just the nature of the corner. We see it all the time across the classes. Is Max Martinez thought he was going to have a look there up the inside of Joel Esteban, going from P3 to P1 in a couple of corners. Guido Pini fancies a bit of the action. He's up into 3rd place past Casey O'Gorman as the riders come on to the kilometre-long back straight. That pass from Pini has just cost them a little bit of time and certainly cost O'Gorman a bit of momentum down on the front straight. Max Martinez pulls out of the slipstream alongside title rival Joel Esteban. Of course, Max Martinez is the reigning title holder in this class. Lost the race to Guido Pini on the black and yellow machine at that very corner that just turned turn 17 last time around a couple of hours ago, and it is Guido Pini now, the number 93, who is up into 2nd place. This is chopping and changing all the time. Is Pini going to go into P1? Not quite. Max Martinez is very good on the brakes down into turn 1.
Well, the police team look on as they watch their riders in this battle here, but as Max Martinez has shown the form that he showed in race number 1 here today, can he check out? It looks like the riders are behind him, have tagged onto him a little bit, but here comes Pini. He's been quick here before, so is O'Gorman, but to stay stationed for the moment. Can O'Gorman look up the inside of Pini? But it looks like a move from Boggio, not doing it just at the moment yet. The yellow helmet with the number 47 on the front, trying to get up the inside of Brian Uriarte, who by his standards has been a little bit quiet so far here in this race. So you can just imagine that towards the end of the race, if Brian Uriarte is still in this mix, he will get his elbows out and try and get on that podium. As Martinez, we spoke about this in race number 1, he was running on the green ever so slightly. We haven't had any track limits warnings today. Max Martinez will not want to be the first, or if at all, any of these riders to pick up a warning or a long lap penalty.
Yeah, clearly pushing is Max Martinez. He looks like he's got pace to try and pull clear. That's exactly what he did in race 1. So I think he's got to the front. He's obviously trying to pull the pin slightly, try and create a little bit of a gap to break the slipstream. A little bit hot there down his turn 12, but doesn't lose too much time. But he's not broken the shackles of Guido Pini and Casey O'Gorman so far on this lap. So he's going to come under threat down the long back straight as the Aspar Junior team guys watch on pensively. They've got 2 riders in this lead group, 2 riders still in with a chance of the title. Something's happened though to Dodo Boggio, the second Aspar team rider in this race. Number 47 and Hamid Al Sahuti have just lost touch in the lead group. So it's now a front group of 5 riders. So Gorman up the insides of Guido Pini at turn 16. Pini's just going to return the favour. That's exactly what he did to Max Martinez in race 1. So Pini loves that inside line around the final couple of corners here in Aragon. Casey O'Gorman, though, doesn't want to have any of that. He wants to be up leading the race, but leading the race he isn't. Max Martinez still leads. Good into turn 1 is Max Martinez. We've seen that numerous times this weekend. So he's held off the chasing pack that time around. Can he now break them slightly this time around on this lap? I don't think he will, because Casey Gorman, as you can see there, sat the fastest lap of the race. As the 2 in the background, Al Sahuti and Boggio, just tangle with each other again. They've lost, well, a good couple of seconds to the riders in front. So if they're not careful, Sahuti and Boggio's podium hopes could go up in smoke here.
Yeah, Bernat Fernandez, the rider you see on screen now, number 34. He's had a crash at turn number 12. Thankfully, the rider is up and okay. Turn 12. Oh, we saw something very similar happen to Evan Belford in race number 1. Thankfully, no one collected the stricken rider. So the number 34, a corner that we've seen so many high sides in the past, and one that hopefully will not see any more for the remainder of this race. But back at the front, Max Martinez is now beginning to open up a bit of a gap at the front. It's a couple of bike lengths, but it's a very important bike length as well. Guido Pini late on the brakes, holding off Casey O'Gorman. Here comes Brian Uriarte. He's now starting to find his form. He's now starting to get his elbows out ever so slightly. He's now past your championship leader, Joel Esteban. Guido Pini, can he tag onto the backs of Max Martinez? Martinez a little bit wide into the left-hander before the back straight, and here's the race start.
Here's a replay then of when the lights went out a few moments ago. Martinez would have been concentrating before the race on trying to get the whole shot, and that's exactly what he did. Boggio getting a good start as well from the front row of the grids. It's a close-up of the number 78, Joel Esteban. Not a bad getaway at all from the spearhead of row 2, but Brian Uriarte again on the number 51 got an excellent start from row 3. Swept around the outside and got up into the top 4 there in the early exchanges. So it's still Martinez leading the way then. We cross the line, 9 laps to go. No one has been able to put a front wheel in front of Martinez for the last couple of laps now. And that gap there is just starting to build ever so slightly. It's still not big enough for him to be comfortable by any means and start stretching away. But he has just got that little bit of a buffer that he's not going to be challenged in the braking zone unless he makes a mistake by any of the riders, as the riders scrap behind. O'Gorman and Pini going at it. Esteban in 4th place and Brian Uriarte, the number 51 machine, up in 5th place. As the riders behind now, Al Sahuti and Dodo Boggio, really have lost touch. They're now 3 seconds adrift as Esteban sticks it at the inside at turn 7 on Casey O'Gorman.
We're starting to get the feeling that maybe Guido Pini is a bit of a logjam here, because riders behind, especially Gorman and Esteban, look like they might have the pace just to go with Martinez ever so slightly. But for the first couple of sectors, Pini loses a lot of time to Martinez. He does sort of claw it back towards the end of the lap, but it's only just enough to get back on the coattails of Martinez, not enough to get past the reigning champion as well. As Casey O'Gorman got a great run out of turn number 10, up the inside of Esteban into turn 12, late on the brakes, through the left-hander. A bit of a bump in the middle to contend with. All 5 of them get through nice and safely through there, so no issues whatsoever for the top 5, who have just set off with a blistering pace here. We've got a move from Uriarte. Yes, we do. A great move there from the number 51. He started to make his move again, but Esteban, you can feel he's getting a little bit frustrated. He's getting mired in the pack a little bit, getting pushed back. Every time he makes progress, he gets shuffled back towards the back of the pack once again. As they power the way down the back straight, O'Gorman tucks out of the slipstream. The number 67 cuts across very late on Guido Pini there, but Pini, we've seen him cut a tight line up the inside of O'Gorman, but you can't do it this time, but Uriarte's trying it on Esteban, and those two battling just behind is allowing O'Gorman and Pini to get away, but in turn their battling is allowing Max Martinez to stretch the gap to 2.5 tenths.
Yeah, Esteban getting a little bit frustrated. The main thing, I think, for Esteban and Guido Pini, the top two in the title chase, split by just a solitary point. They just want to beat each other heading to Valencia. Of course, all these riders will be wanting to win this race. That's what they race for. You don't come to race and not try and win. But obviously, with the title on the line, you've got to just think a little bit more. And if you can't win the race, then you just want to beat your nearest title rival. And for Esteban, that's Guido Pini. And in return, Pini, it's Joel Esteban. The likes of Casey O'Gorman, he's 46 down on the overall standings. He won't really be thinking about the title chase at all, will the Irishman. He'll be just wanting to pick up a first race win of the season. But all this battling is allowing Max Martinez to just settle into a nice rhythm. He's not pulling clear, though. I don't think he's got the pace he possessed to necessarily break clear like he did before the red flag in race one, but he's just got that buffer, like we mentioned a lap ago, that 2, 3, 4 tenth buffer in hand. So when it does get to the back straight and the riders can get into the slipstream, he's not close enough to them to get under pressure, as we see. Rider 47, Dodo Boggio, has stopped at turn 5. So I'm not sure what's happened to Dodo Boggio, but unfortunately for the Italian, his race has ended prematurely, just like it did in race 1, and unfortunately that means that has put an end to his title hopes. Yeah,
from a couple of races ago, everything looked all rosy in the world of Dodo Boggio and his title aspirations, but the last 3 races, 2 DNFs coming into this one, a third now. That's curtains for the title challenge of Dodo Boggio in 2022, as he was trying to chase down his Aspart teammate Joel Esteban, who's still in the mix here, getting pushed out wide by Brian Uriarte. But you've got to feel a lot of sadness. You've got to feel very sorry for Dodo Boggio there, because he's not done a lot wrong so far this year. Just maybe the last couple of races where he has crashed, put himself in a lot of, well, in a very difficult position, and today his race has come to an end through what we think is probably no fault of his own, as this battle is raging on. O'Gorman and Pini are knocking lumps out of each other. Uriarte's trying to get involved in this, trying to go around the outside of O'Gorman. That's not going to work. O'Gorman will try and get the cut back on the inside into turn number 5. This is where Boggio stopped a lap ago, and this is just perfect for Max Martinez, who is looking unassailable at the front at the moment.
Yeah, all that squabbling behind is certainly helping Max Martinez's case, but once the riders can just settle down for a few corners, then Martinez is reeled in slightly. Joel Esteban, incidentally, on the last lap, setting the fastest lap of the race. No, I think it was Brian Uriarte actually setting the fastest lap of the race. Here's a nice little slow-mo down into the hard braking zone of turn 1, the number 93 of Guido Pini up the inside of Casey O'Gorman for second place. Back at the front then, and the gap has really diminished at the front between Pini and the race leader Max Martinez. Not the sort of gap that we've seen Martinez boast heading into the final sector of the race in the last few laps, with 6 and a bit laps to go now. Pini has had a really good lap this time around. Interesting to see what his lap time will be at the end of this one, because he's had a really, really good lap, and he's now tucked up right behind Max Martinez. And in return, the number 51 is Uriarte, is right up the tailpipes of Casey O'Gorman. Are we going to get any changes this time around going into turn 16? Max Martinez has been good on the brakes all weekend long, not quite close enough for Guido Pini on the 90U machine to overtake Martinez. But Martinez has run wide there, and we saw that in race 1, didn't we? Martinez taking a slightly wider line, but the slightly wider line does allow a nice little slingshot on to the home straight. But getting a slingshot is Casey O'Gorman, and he's going to take the lead down into turn 1. Great then for the Irishman on the number 67 Vision Track, Michael Laverty-led racing machine. Casey O'Gorman hits the front then for the first time in a few laps. Martinez loses the lead for the first time in a few laps, and Martinez just hopes is trying to pull clear in the middle stage of this race, have not turned out to have worked out.
This is perfect news for Joel Esteban, who was starting to look a little bit off the back of this group. He's now back and forth. He's got Max Martinez just in front of him now, and Max Martinez is a little bit lady as he comes off the corners onto the curbs. I have seen him a couple of times run onto the green, so we have to keep an eye on Max Martinez and the amount of times he runs onto the green, because a warning could be heading his way. As we see poetry in motion, this is a great little replay of Casey O'Gorman, the Irishman, taking the lead into turn number 1. Very opportunistic to see Guido Pini and Max Martinez run a little bit wide, scupper their exit coming out of the final corner, but these two have got a bit of a gap coming their way now. Guido Pini, a fantastic exit as he draws alongside Casey O'Gorman on the run down into turn number 12 later in the brakes, and it was going to be Guido Pini's corner all day, every day, with the run that he had on Casey O'Gorman coming through there. So leading group of 5. It's all chopping and changing. Max Martinez, who was leading comfortably a lap and a half ago, has been shuffled all the way back down to 4th, with Brian Uriarte looking like he was making a move on the number 28. He hasn't. He's all stations for now as the freight train, the 10-wheeler, makes his way down the back straight with 5.5 laps to go.
Just wonder if something happened to Max Martinez when we were just watching the replay, because he dropped back into the clutches, into Brian Uriarte and behind Joel Esteban, but he seems to have regathered now. The gap between the top 2 and P3 and P4 have closed down slightly. The different lines there
Crazy.
do worry sometimes, don't they? But the riders have got it all under control. Casey O'Gorman just sitting up there. Maybe he doesn't want to lead at this stage of the race, but he's got no choice, because he got an excellent run out that final corner. Uriarte up the inside of Max Martinez. So from leading a lap ago, Max Martinez has slipped to the back of this group, and now it's Joel Esteban up into 3rd place, Pini up into 2nd place. That's the top 2, remember, in the overall standings, and with just under 5 laps to go, the top 2 in the title chase, the top 3, sorry, in the title chase, are all in the hunt here. So very intriguing times ahead. Casey O'Gorman, like we say, doesn't have to worry about the title chase. He just wants to stand on the podium. He wants to stand on the top step of the podium for his first win in this class.
At the moment, we will be heading to Valencia with a showdown between 2 riders, Guido Pini on the number 93 and Joel Esteban on the number 78 machine in 4th. Max Martinez needs to beat both of them to take his chances into Valencia. If he stays where he is at the moment in 5th spot, that will be game over. He will be done for the year. All he can hope for would be a 3rd spot in the championship for the reigning European Talent Cup champion. But as we've seen so far, all change in a matter of moments. We have Brian Uriarte there, sticking his legs out, trying not to get the slipstream, trying to just create a little bit of resistance so he doesn't carry as much speed down the straight to overtake any of the riders. So a little bit of gamesmanship going on between all 5 of the riders now. We saw Casey O'Gorman running a little bit wide at the final corner. I wonder if that's him trying to, a bit of a moment there mid-corner for Guido Pini, but I'm just wondering if Casey O'Gorman is now trying to allow riders to get in front of him on the run down towards turn number 1 so he can slipstream past them on the final lap.
Interesting tactics, isn't it, here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup? Obviously young riders, but very wise heads on the young shoulders of these riders. They know exactly what they're doing. Tactics are coming into play here with just over 4 laps to go. It'll be 4 laps to go when we cross the line. Uriarte taking a very tight line through the final corner. That was very close between Uriarte, number 51, and O'Gorman. He got past Guido Pini as Michael Laverty and his team look on there. O'Gorman, that's giving him a little bit of breathing space then at turn 1 with 4 laps to go, but we can expect that to come down. Yeah, I can understand why there's some nervous looking faces there in the vision track box. 4 laps to go for Casey O'Gorman to try and stand on the top step of the podium for the first time in this class, but he's got a lot of work to do, of course. He's got some very quick riders behind him and riders that are chasing the title.
Yeah, and we've got some riders behind him that will go all out to try and win this race, especially the 2 that will be heading into, well, the 3 that could be heading into Valencia as the title protagonists. Uriarte and O'Gorman, as it stands, will not be carrying into Valencia as title protagonists. They will be sitting in 5th and 6th in the championship as things stand at the moment. But it's all to play for. It's all the bragging rights they want as well. Brian Uriarte wants to pick up his 3rd win of the season. O'Gorman hasn't even won a race so far this season. He's always been inside the fight for victory. Can he now stand atop the top step of the podium, lifting that winner's trophy? As we see again, Brian Uriarte ever so slightly just sticking his legs out, trying not to go past Casey O'Gorman. Casey O'Gorman still leads the way and it's Guido Pini who's dropping further back as well. Max Martinez still on the back of this group for the moment, but I don't think it's going to stay that way. Here comes Esteban up the inside of Brian Uriarte. Can anyone respond? No, they can't, as they make their way on towards the back straight once again. A little bit of a moment at the seat. It almost looked like as Casey O'Gorman tried to stay away from the green tarmac on the edge of the circuit.
Yeah, Martinez just keeping his powder dry for the time being, but there's not long left to go in this race, of course, so Martinez does need to start making progress. He needs to beat, remember, Esteban and Pini if he's going to stand any chance, really, of going to Valencia still in the title hunt. O'Gorman running that wider line once again, and Joel Esteban says, thank you very much, I'll take the inside line and take the race lead, but I don't think Esteban's going to hold it for long as we zoom in on Guido Pini's pit board. Max Martinez steaming up the inside. He goes up into second place. He was 5th coming on to the start of the lap. He's now up into second place. O'Gorman gets shuffled down into 3rd place. Joel Esteban leads the race once again. He's not led the race for a while as Joel Esteban, but he's just kept his head down like all these riders have, and now it's business time. Max Martinez then round the outside, last of the late breakers. Joel Esteban just shoves him out wide a little bit, Max Martinez, but Max Martinez is going to hold on to P2, is he? Yes, he is. So Joel Esteban then getting his elbows out with 3 laps to go.
This is turning into a classic for the ages. This second race here at Motorland Aragón of the Hawkers European Talent Cup, and as we're watching this punch up for the race win, there's also a fantastic battle going on further back between, well, Carter Thompson in 7th and a group that runs all the way down to Guillaume Plonk in 17th place. So 12 riders in that group all the way for 7th, and Carter Thompson now leads it. But we keep our eyes on the battle for the front because it's Joel Esteban, your championship leader, by 1 point over Guido Pini, who's in 4th spot, who's making a move on Casey O'Gorman, but it's a move on Esteban for Max Martinez. He's now back to the front of this race where he was a number of laps ago. Now, will he try and pull the bend, or will Esteban try and respond? Not this time round. They make their way onto the back straight. It's 5 riders with Uriarte on the back on the number 51. What can he do? We know that he can get his elbows out with 2.5 laps remaining. Guido Pini building up momentum on the back of O'Gorman, and in turn Joel Esteban on the back of Max Martinez, who will be latest on the brakes. We've seen all weekend that Max Martinez is an absolute demon on the brakes, but Esteban's already ahead as they get to the corner, and it's O'Gorman into 3rd. Pini up the inside, pushing his way past Max Martinez. It's all to play for as they're about to cross the start-finish line. 2 laps remaining of the Hawkers European Talent Cup here at Motorland Aragón.
Yeah, that could be a little bit of rehearsal for the final lap. Max Martinez leading the way onto the back straight, but ends up coming out of the final corner in 4th place. It really is now business end of the race for these riders, and of course points up for grabs, important points up for grabs. They might be split by less than a second, the top 5, but the difference between a 1st place finish and a 5th place finish is well over 10 points. So this is crucial times as Guido Pini dives at the inside at turn 4. Fantastic move from the Italian. Race 1 winner, of course, a debut winner in this class for Guido Pini. He's not had a DNF to his name. Mr. Consistent is the number 93, and he hits the front for the first time. Joel Esteban knows that that's his main title rival. Dives at the inside at turn 7. A good move from Esteban, but Pini bites straight back on the number 93 machine. They're very close down now into turn 8. They'll switch back the reverse corkscrew into turn 9. Pini holding it for now, but this is gloves off time.
No holds barred between Esteban and Pini. They know that those are the 2 that they really need to beat to win the title in 2022. They were leaning on each other coming down the reverse corkscrew, and Casey O'Gorman, he's just watching that, rubbing his hands, licking his lips, thinking this is all mine if these 2 take each other out. Oh, a bit of a moment there on the brakes, but Guido Pini runs a little bit deep. Brian Uriarte is back into 4th. That has knocked Martinez down to 5th. Can Esteban look up the inside? He's done that a few times, maybe a rehearsal for the final lap of the race. And Uriarte's not done yet. That's 2 positions in the space of 3 corners. He's now up the inside of O'Gorman, but Scarpers has run onto the back straight. They're leaning on each other, elbow to elbow. This is no holds barred, gloves off, as you said, Elliot. And here comes Max Martinez to take both of them into 3rd spot. So it's Esteban, Pini, Martinez, O'Gorman and Uriarte as they make the way in towards the final corner for the penultimate time.
1 corner and 1 lap to go then here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup Race 2 in Aragon. It's going to be the title leader, Joel Esteban, leading across the line. 1 point behind him in the overall standings is Guido Pini. 1 place behind him is Guido Pini. Max Martinez looking up the inside. He overtakes Casey O'Gorman. So O'Gorman shuffled down to 4th place. Martinez knows that he needs to try and beat the 2 riders ahead of him. That's close for comfort between Uriarte and O'Gorman at turn 2. But attention's now turned to the top 2 in the title race. Esteban leading Pini. Martinez in 3rd place. So it's as you are in the title chase as you are in the race. The top 3 are the top 3 in this race.
Oh, I can't call this one, Elliot. It's all to play for with a lap and a half remaining. Esteban has been brilliant in the last few laps. He's picked his moves calculated perfectly. Here comes O'Gorman. He pushes Martinez wide. This is disastrous for Martinez's championship challenge. O'Gorman into 3rd. I think Martinez is now down to 5th with Uriarte into 4th spot, but Esteban still leads away. They cannot look on in the Aspar garage. Nicky Terol there with his hand on his lips there, watching as his man leads away with half a lap to go. Can Guido Pini get a run through this corner? He's been brilliant so far through the entire race. He's done it again, side by side, as they make their way down towards turn number 12. Later in the brakes, who will be the latest? It will be Esteban, and brilliant later in the brakes. A bit of a bobble, he runs a little bit wide, and that's Pini. He's got a bobble as well. He takes the lead of the race. O'Gorman into 2nd. A few more corners to go, but that's disastrous for your championship leader, Joel Esteban. Guido Pini leads the way.
It's going to all come down to the final couple of corners. Last time then, down the kilometre-long back straight, Guido Pini. Is he going to make it 2 wins from 2? Casey O'Gorman in 2nd place, tucked up in the slipstream. A mistake there from Joel Esteban has relegated him down as 3rd place. Here comes Casey O'Gorman. Uses the slipstream to great effect. Up the inside, he takes the lead before turn 16. All he's got to do now is hold it round turn 16 and 17. Esteban and Guido Pini are getting close for comfort there. It's all to come down to the final corner. Max Martinez up the inside of Joel Esteban, but who's going to win the race to the line? Casey O'Gorman looks across. Guido Pini versus Casey O'Gorman. I think it's O'Gorman by 8 thousandths of a second. It is. Casey O'Gorman, the Irishman, wins his first race in the Hawkers European Talent Cup. Takes a trip all the way down to Valencia there as well at turn 1. But Casey O'Gorman wins a fascinating and fantastic battle here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup. What a race. It's Guido Pini in 2nd place, Joel Esteban in 3rd, and Max Martinez off the podium in 4th place. Wow, what a race. And Casey O'Gorman emerges from it as a European Talent Cup race winner.
I am speechless. What a brilliant last lap. Timed every move to utter perfection, knew when to pick his moments, and Casey O'Gorman is a European Talent Cup winner for the first time. I thought when he looked across at Guido Pini that was it, he's lost all of his momentum, but not to be. 8 thousandths of a second was the gap for Casey O'Gorman, and what a way to do it. Guido Pini just misses out on repeating a double here today in front of his main championship rival. That's 3 points separating those two. Here we go again, coming across the line. O'Gorman looks across at Pini on the number 93, and look at that. Wow, you cannot get much closer than that, can you?
8 thousandths of a second. That's exactly what it looks like across the line. Guido Pini finishing in 2nd place will take the title lead heading to Valencia. 1 race to go, and if my maths serve me well, which they haven't done at all in my 26 years of living, Max Martinez, unfortunately, after finishing off the podium in 4th place, won't be in the title hunt in Valencia. So it'll be between 2 riders, Joel Esteban and Guido Pini. But wow, what a race that was. We thought it would come down to the final corner, and that's exactly what it did. What a weekend for Guido Pini. Hadn't stood on the podium since his 2nd place finish back in Valencia a few months ago. Has had a couple of P5 finishes in Barcelona and Portimao that's topped up his tally, and it's just been his sheer consistently, really. Still no DNFs to his name, and now a win earlier on today and a 2nd place finish has seen him overtake Joel Esteban in the overall standings. An absolutely fantastic race. Casey O'Gorman, Irish fans out there watching along, keep an eye on the number 67 if you aren't doing so already. I remember speaking to Michael Laverty, the team boss of the Vision Track Racing team, of course. I remember speaking to him in Barcelona, I think it was, in the JuniorGP paddock, and he said, yeah, Casey O'Gorman is the real deal. 2021 British Talent Cup champion, of course, 8 wins, 11 podiums in 2021, and he's come over to Spain, pitched himself against some of the fastest young riders in the world, and he is eventually, after challenging for race wins throughout the year, a couple of podiums over in Barcelona, sorry, not Barcelona, Jerez and Portimao, 2 third-place finishes. Eventually, finally, he is a race winner. I think that's probably some family on the phone to him to congratulate him after the race victory. Fantastic scenes for Casey O'Gorman and the whole Vision Track Racing team celebrating a race win. Phenomenal stuff for Casey O'Gorman. 8 thousandths of a second. How close do you like it? We'll be hearing, of course, from Casey O'Gorman. He'll be down in Parc Fermé once he's caught his breath, once he's debriefed and celebrated a little bit with his team. He'll be talking to Liam, the Aspar team surrounding Joel Esteban there. He'll be a little bit disappointed to be relinquishing the title lead to this man, Guido Pini. What a weekend for the number 93 rider, Italian. Picked up his first race victory last time out, and then has backed it up with a very, very strong second place finish. And what a finale we have coming up over in Valencia in a couple of weeks' time. The other 2 titles might be wrapped up in JuniorGP and the Moto2 European Championship, but the Hawkers European Talent Cup, there is everything to play for. There is Joel Esteban, 3rd place, a return to the podium after finishing 5th earlier on today. He'll be understandably frustrated with that. Dodo Boggio there, good to see he's okay. We didn't see what happened to Dodo Boggio in race 2. We got notifications on our timing screens that he just stopped at turn 5, so maybe it was some sort of mechanical or technical issue for Dodo Boggio, but he is now out of the title race, unfortunately, for the young Italian. The tunes are already playing. I can see the number 6-7 of Casey O'Gorman making his way towards Liam Hodgins down there. Here's a couple of replays then of the final lap. Joel Esteban, yeah, just got it a little bit out of shape, didn't he? The rear tyre just stepping out slightly down into turn 12, the hard braking zone, and this was the final run down into turn 16 and 17. Guido Pini leading the way, but O'Gorman in prime position, tucked up in the slipstream, overtook Pini on the inside. Got a perfect run through turn 16. Didn't allow anyone to come up the inside at turn 17, held a tight line. Got a good enough run out of the corner, did the number 6-7, looking across to see where Guido Pini was, and thankfully for the Irishman's sake, it was 8 thousandths of a second in arrears as O'Gorman celebrated victory. Max Martinez there, visibly frustrated, missing out on the podium. But here we go, then we can hear from Casey O'Gorman, a race winner in the European Talent Cup. He's down there in Parc Fermé.
Well, Casey O'Gorman, huge congratulations. You timed that move to absolute perfection on the final lap. You're now a European Talent Cup winner. Tell us how it feels.
Oh, it feels amazing. After the race 1, I was really annoyed with myself because I messed up the last lap, and then I messed up the last corner as well, and I missed out on a podium. But to come back with a win, it's just so good.
Massive congratulations, Casey. Go and enjoy the celebrations with your team.
Thank you. I want to thank all my sponsors, my mum and my dad. My dad's not even here this weekend because he's working, but I know he's watching.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Congratulations indeed to Casey O'Gorman. Here's highlights then from what we've just seen in race 2. Max Martinez starting from pole position. Got the whole shot just like he did in race 1 earlier on today. Dodo Boggio getting a good start as well from the front row of the grid. Guido Pini there also getting a good getaway from 3rd on the grid. Casey O'Gorman from 6th on the grid, just like he did in race 1. He made a fantastic start from the outside of the second round, was quickly up into the lead group, quickly batting for the race lead. Max Martinez there, diving up the inside at turn 12. We saw plenty of action down at turn 12 today, didn't we? A popular overtaking manoeuvre across all classes here in Aragon. The lead was changing lap by lap. Martinez clearly wanted to lead the way, showed some good pace in race 1, before the red flags came out. And did threaten to pull away slightly, had a nice little cushion for a few laps, did the number 28, as the battle raged on behind, as Guido Pini overtaking Casey O'Gorman down at turn 1. Ryan Uriarte and Joel Esteban also in the lead group of 5 after Dodo Boggio. Unfortunately, he had to retire out at turn 5, and it all came down to the last lap. Casey O'Gorman hitting the front there at turn 1. The Vision Track team looking on nervously, of course, wishing on Casey O'Gorman. Joel Esteban made his way to the front. Guido Pini there on the number 93, though, was a menace throughout. This was the final couple of corners. The run down into turn 16. O'Gorman pulling out the slipstream on the brakes through turn 16, holding that tight line through turn 17, and eventually took the race win by 8 thousandths of a second. Look how close this was across the line between the number 67 and the number 93. Fantastic scenes then for Casey O'Gorman, and a familiar face stands on the podium, Michael Laverty. Such tireless effort from Michael this year to set up the Vision Track racing team, and after being in Thailand like myself last weekend, he's travelled all the way back to help out here in Aragon, and unlike myself, he'll probably be travelling all the way back to Australia next weekend. Sensational work from Michael Laverty. Joel Esteban, third step on the podium. He looks pleased enough with that. Guido Pini, of course, happy with second place. And talking of happy, Casey O'Gorman on the top step of the podium for the first time. The Vision Track Racing team proudly presented with the trophy. Joel Esteban adding third place to his collection of good results. Guido Pini, what a weekend for the young Italian. A first race win, backed it up with second place and the title lead. But no one will be happier at this moment in time than Casey O'Gorman. Fantastic race for the young Irishman.
Fuerte aplauso, por supuesto, para el irlandés Casey O'Gorman.
Fantastic stuff for Casey O'Gorman and the Vision Track Racing team to hear the Irish national anthem sing out around Motorland Aragón. What a way for them to end the season. Of course, one more race for the European Talent Cup riders coming up in Valencia in a couple of weeks' time. And it'll be a title showdown between Guido Pini there dancing on the podium and Joel Esteban on the right-hand side of your screen, the Aspar Junior team rider. But what a weekend we've got in store for these guys. Before, of course, some of them are also competing in the Red Bull Rookies. Casey O'Gorman will be alongside the Grand Prix paddock once again in Valencia a week after the season finale, competing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. He's had podiums there as well, so sort of coming of age season, if you'd like, for want of a better phrase, for Casey O'Gorman in 2022. Here are confirmation of the results then. Doesn't get much closer than that, does it? Casey O'Gorman taking his debut victory in the class by 8 thousandths of a second. Esteban and Maximo Martinez there in third and fourth. Martinez just missing out on a podium. Uriarte less than a second from victory, but crossed the line in fifth. Carter Thompson with a solid sixth. Pau Alsina rounded out top 10. Hamed Al-Souti was with the leaders in the open exchange, but slipped down to P11. Bojosa, Marco Garcia, Plonk and Mooley completed the point scorers, with Red Bull Rookies Cup winner Rico Saumella in Aragon finishing just outside the points. Paria, Hararu and Fuertes completed the top 20. And there's confirmation of Dodo Boggio. Unfortunately, another DNF to his name here in Aragon. That's 3 DNFs in a row for the young Italian, which means he is out of title contention. Well, that was meant to be the overall standings heading to Valencia. Let's try that one again. There we go. So yeah, confirmation then. Guido Pini, 105 points. 3 ahead now of Joel Esteban, and it is a straight shootout between Pini and Esteban for the 2022 title in Valencia. Martinez, 29 points adrift. Just out of touch now in 3rd place. So Gorman rising up to 4th place in the overall standings. Can he finish in the top 3 at the end of the year? A really, really thrilling climax to the season is coming in Valencia in a couple of weeks' time at the circuit. Ricardo Tormo. Rush Moodley rounding out the top 10 in the overall standings. As we take a look at the riders further down the field, Al Zahuti, the podium finisher in the Asia Talent Cup in Japan. He's in 20th. Garness, unfortunately not here this weekend. The reigning British Talent Cup winner. He was injured before the races got underway last weekend at Donington Park, so we wish him a speedy recovery. And then, of course, Christian Daniel was involved in that incident with Evan Belford as well. We wish those two a speedy recovery. What a weekend we have had here in Aragon. And emerging from it all was Casey Gorman as a 2022 European Talent Cup race winner. Valencia is the final round in a couple of weeks. We've got a title showdown between Pini and Esteban. Do tune in for that one. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later.